All right, let's talk about Kevin Durant. Now, obviously, with Kyrie Irving being traded, the whole basketball community wanted to know what in the world was going to happen to Kevin Durant. Was he going to stick it out in Brooklyn as the lone ranger left from the trio that never was with Kyrie Irving and James Harden a couple of years ago? Is he going to ask for a trade? Is he going to not ask for a trade and be traded anyway? We were very anxious to find out, and we found out late last night, as of time of recording. Kevin Durant was traded to the Phoenix Suns. Now, I think, again, like I talked about earlier in the Kyrie Irving video, or in the Kyrie Irving part of this podcast, if you're watching the full episode, I think that it was a pretty perfect, not necessarily perfect, but a great scenario for Kyrie Irving to go to Dallas, and I think it's another virtually perfect scenario for Kevin Durant in Phoenix. I think it was a great fit, and you know what? For 3 years of Kevin Durant, or 3.5 years of Kevin Durant under contract, they didn't really give up as much as I figured they would give up. Because you think about how much James Harden was traded for. He was traded for like 4 unprotected firsts, 4 pick swaps, 3 players, like just an insane amount of stuff going on for Houston there. They just got a crazy package for James Harden, who I think we can all agree is not nearly, maybe not nearly, but he's not as good of a player as Kevin Durant. I was actually kind of surprised to see how, not crazy huge this trade package was. Now listen, it's nothing to sneeze at. Obviously, with Kevin Durant, they traded Mikal Bridges, who's a borderline all-star, and a great, versatile wing defender. One of the best defenders in the NBA, I believe I believe he was either a finalist or barely missed out on being a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year last year. Cam Johnson, who's a great stretch 4 that you had that's over there in Phoenix. He's not much of a defender, but you know what? He's a great piece, a good role player over there. I think there was another player involved. Jay Crowder. There you go. Jay Crowder, who they ended up trading later on. And again, I'll get to that stuff next week. But Jay Crowder, obviously, he was a good defender and a good player. And then 4 unprotected first-round picks, along with, I think, 1, maybe 2 pick swaps. I think it might have just been 1. And then some second-round picks as well. So, considering how much James Harden was traded for 3.5 years of Kevin Durant, that's not a terrible package for Phoenix. Obviously, they had to give up some good players that meant a lot to their team, and a good amount of picks and pick swaps and second-round picks and all that stuff. But hey, you know what? He's Kevin Durant. And if you're Phoenix, man, your time is right now. I mean, you've got DeAndre Ayton under contract. You've got Devin Booker under contract for a couple more years, but not 5 more. And then now you add Kevin Durant, and then you still have Chris Paul, who, listen, again, as I said early on in the podcast, he's not the same as he once was. He's not going to put you up 26 points a night. He's maybe going to get you 12 or 15. He's not going to put up 13 assists a night. He might give you 7 or 8. But you know what? He's still Chris Paul. So, there's a lot of point guards that are worse in the NBA than Chris Paul right now still, even at his age. So, I think that it was a great move for Phoenix, and I think it was a great move for Brooklyn. I think that, you know what? I'll say this, and I'm going to go more in depth with this later on when I talk about the Nets and where I think their franchise is going. Good for Brooklyn. It's very hard for teams to really hit that reset button, and Brooklyn has done that. And I'm always one of those people that thinks you should never want to live in purgatory in the NBA or in any other sport. If you're going to be bad, make yourself really, really, really bad. Let your players go try and win a championship, trade for draft picks. And when you get to the draft, if you like players that are after where you're picking, trade down, get more picks. I've always been that guy. But if you're going to go all in, man. Like, try and win a championship or try and rebuild. I think that's where you want to live. So, and Brooklyn could have very easily, considering they're, I think, 3rd or 4th, maybe even 2nd in the East right now. I don't think they're 2nd, but they're high up. They're definitely a top 4 seed right now in the East. They could have easily just kept Kevin Durant, said to their fans, listen, with Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith and Ben Simmons and Cam Thomas and Nick Claxton and all these guys, Jay Crowder, they could have said, you know what, I think we are still good enough to compete for a championship, and I would have been okay with that. But they made the very hard decision to trade away Kevin Durant, who is a generational player. Of course he is, and I'll talk about generational players more later on as well, talking about something else completely, which I'll get into. But, that's not an easy decision to make, to trade away a player like that. Those kind of players don't come around very often. So the fact that you're willing to trade him right now in the middle of the season really shows some guts and some courage. So good for Brooklyn. But again, I'll get into that more later. So back to Kevin Durant and Phoenix. I think it's a great fit. I think that it immediately puts Phoenix in the top of contention in the West. Excuse me. Phoenix, Arizona is not in the East Coast, folks, just so in case you're wondering. In the West. So I think that it was a great trade. And again, you don't know how many more years you're going to have left to Chris Paul. And you don't know how many years in Phoenix you have left to Chris Paul either. So, because Chris Paul, he may have 2 or 3 or 4 years left, but they may not be in Phoenix, if he decides to leave. So I think it was a great trade. I think it really shows the new ownership in Phoenix. I think they were just kind of not sworn in. That sounds like they were, put their hand on the Bible and said, I swear to run a basketball team. No, not like that. But, the new ownership that was brought in after the sale of Phoenix, right? And after the whole, moral sexual misconduct debacle stuff going on in Phoenix there not too long ago. But, that new ownership is showing that they mean business. And I think that that's great for their fan base. I think it's really going to kind of, what's the word I'm trying to think of? It's gonna really give the fan base a reason to love them. It's gonna really show them that they care about their fans, and it's gonna really kind of get on the fans' good side. I think, even if it doesn't end up in a championship, I think that you, at the very least, you can't say that Phoenix didn't go all in. You can't say they didn't give everything they had to win a championship, right, at this point. So I think it was a great trade. I really hope it works out for Kevin Durant. I hope he can get back healthy. He's just one of my favorite players to watch. And also, happy he's not in Brooklyn anymore, because, my God, those Brooklyn Celtics games just gave me anxiety to no end. I couldn't stand it, because it's just one of those things where, you're just worried about what's going to happen. But either way, I'm happy for Kevin Durant. I'm happy for Brooklyn. I think that it works out for both teams. I think both trades for Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, I think, are going to work out for both sides. And so, we'll see what happens there. But again, happy for KD, and I can't wait to see how the rest of its season shakes out.
Hey guys, me again. Thank you so much for watching one of my clips from the Lopes Goes Last podcast. These clips are so much fun to do. I absolutely love making them, and I absolutely love doing them. And this podcast is my baby. So I really want this thing to grow, and I really want it to succeed. So if you did like what you see, please subscribe. Also hit that bell notification so you never miss any one of my episodes or one of my clips like this one. And please do also like and share these videos with your friends and your family so that we can make this thing grow as fast as possible. And I wanted to thank you again so much. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video and have a great rest of your day.